Today, there are 2 million descendants of French-Canadian immigrants living in New England. These are our stories. Welcome to the French-Canadian Legacy Podcast.
Venez tous jeunes filles et garçons, je vais vous raconter l'histoire de notre immigration ici au USA, de grands aventuriers, de pays étrangers.
Bonjour everyone, this is Melody and we're back with French-Canadian news. If you're listening in on June 24th, Bon Saint Jean, Happy Saint Jean Baptiste Day. We'll start with a radio interview I had with two other guests discussing the next generation of Franco-Americans on Wicked Healthy Radio. We talked about how to make Franco-American culture and the French language more appealing and accessible to younger generations. It was a great discussion, so go check it out. When you watch the video, start it at the 10-minute mark. We went live, but the host had to let the advertisements and news segments play before we could get started. Enjoy the interview. Next up, we have two articles on Franco-American news and culture by Juliana Leroux. One titled, The Language of Inclusion, is an essay republished by Jim Bishop, a professor at the University of Maine. I'll quote a short excerpt. The reclamation and regeneration of our cultural legacy is worth our best efforts. Not essentially because we need to preserve a record of our past, though I hope the value of recording a people's story is self-evident, but because the culture of a people is the expression of its collective soul. The other article is titled, Biddeford's Franco-American Festival La Kermesse. Although La Kermesse has come to a close again, check out the article to relive the fun and get ready for next year. We have two blog posts on Query the Past by Patrick Lacroix to check out. First up, we have La Saint Jean Baptiste chez les Franco-Américains, 1945 to 1956, discussing Saint Jean Baptiste Day and Franco-Americans en français. Then we have the Transnational Quebecs, about the Quebecs as a province, city, and a last name. Find out more about this family name through documents and genealogical records in the blog post. Last but not least, congratulations to our very own Mike Campbell for having the honor of being named the 2024 Franco-American of the Year by the Franco-American Center in Manchester, New Hampshire. Send him a congrats and a thank you for everything he does here at the French-Canadian Legacy Podcast. And now on to events. If you'll be in the Midwest this September, get tickets now for Canadiana Fest in Kalamazoo, Michigan. This event is a celebration of all things Canadian, and French Canadians are certainly welcome to join in on the fun. Enjoy cultural activities, music, and food from Canada on September 21st, 2024. For the month of June only, get tickets for just $10. Check out the event page for more. From June 23rd to the 30th, check out the 2024 Lowell Franco-American Festival Week in Lowell, Massachusetts. Starting on Sunday, June 23rd at 12 p.m., there will be a French Mass honoring Saint Jean Baptiste at Immaculate Conception Church. There are other events all week long, including a Quebec flag raising, family bingo, French quadrilles and contra dances, and a poutine picnic. Check out their Facebook page for the full schedule of events. That's all I've got for you this time. Everything I've covered today will be linked in the French-Canadian Legacy podcast episode description. Merci for listening.
Thank you, Melody. Now, this week's episode is actually something I'm pretty excited about. Some months ago, I had the opportunity to be interviewed on a really, really interesting YouTube station called Raconte-moi mes ancêtres. Essentially, it's two super interesting individuals, Eric Beliveau and Yan Lauzon, and they're really just passionate about telling the story of our ancestors. So the show is, obviously it's a YouTube show based out of Quebec. The show is in French, and they just spent a lot of effort getting really, really good at genealogy, which is, I think, where the two of them made their initial connection. But at the end of the day, really what they are storytellers. And they try to just recreate the lives and learn about as much as possible about the lives that our ancestors lived up in Quebec. They take kind of like the bare bones of what you might be able to easily find. You do a kind of a general search of anybody's kind of genealogy past, dates, born, died, marriage, that kind of thing. And they try to add more to it, give some body to like the regular family tree. What did that town look like when they grew up there? If a family moved, what might have contributed to them moving? If you look at the last names of a certain town, because this is another thing they like to do. They like to go through like cemeteries and see, well, there's this last name that shows up on a lot of stones. Why is that last name a name that shows up over and over again in the cemetery of this one particular town? Like different questions like that is what these gentlemen get together and they try to answer. And they're incredibly, incredibly interesting. So it was an absolute privilege to be asked to participate, to be on their podcast. And so I had the very big fortune to be able to return the favor and interview them for our podcast. Because again, I think they're really interesting people, and I would highly recommend anybody that can speak French, check out what they do, because they're just really good storytellers. Just realizing that there's so much more to a lot of our genealogy studies, because I'm into genealogy as well. I find it very interesting. But there's a lot more to genealogy study than just getting a name and a date they were married. I'll be talking to the hosts of Raconte-moi mes ancêtres, Eric Beliveau and Yan Lauzon. Okay, you guys ready for some bonus questions?
Go ahead.
All right, we mentioned on our episode, you guys did something about hockey. And so I have to know, obviously you're speaking to a guy from New England. In all honesty, what do you guys think of the Boston Bruins?
We hate them. It's we don't like the big bad Bruins, but we do like to beat them in finals.
Would imagine.
Actually, I remember when I was a kid, and when the Bruins and the Habs would go face each other, and with Chris Nyland and John Cordick versus Jay Miller every game. And at the time, they would play like 7 games once against each other. And every game, Jay Miller would have to fight either Cordick, either Nyland, or both.
That's
every
awesome.
time.
Good times.
I look forward to in October. I don't know who I have to bribe to get tickets, but I'm gonna try to get tickets because the Bruins are playing an exhibition game in Quebec City in October.
Yeah, that's a big debate here because the government is subsiding part of that.
Actually, full.
Full of it, and they're like, we could spend the money elsewhere. It's not a real game. So. Yeah, that's
and
big
quite
political
honestly,
debate.
It's not that much of it's not a lot of money. It's $7 million. It's just that the thing that a lot of people are down in the street right now, wanting a better salary, getting better condition, and they say, "Well, we can not do that much, but we can give $7 million to the LA Kings, though."
It's a matter of timing.
It's a matter of timing.
I will be there with my Patrice Bergeron jersey, and so it will be an amazing, amazing time. I'm sure I'm not going to be alone. A lot of people from New England going up for that.
It is a rink that they built on the sole purpose of trying to bring back an NHL team to Quebec City. And it's going to be the first NHL game there. So people in Quebec City are excited about that, and I understand that it's great. And if that helps bring the Nordique back, although I would say. They should not bring the Nordiques that never won the Stanley Cup. They should pick up a name that won the cup in Quebec. Les Bulldogs. But yeah, they bringing. I liked having a team in Quebec City. The best hockey games ever were. Forget about the big bad Bruins. Canadian Nordique. That was something.
Yeah. Sure. No, it's awesome. No, it's very, very fun because. Trust me, a bunch of us here want a team in Quebec real bad too, because we used to have an AHL team here in Manchester for a number of years. So the top minor league team for the LA Kings played here in Manchester. They actually won a title here in Manchester. But the Kings thought, it's kind of crazy to have our top minor league team be in the other side of the continent. And so they took the team and they moved it away, and now we don't have a team in that giant arena. And we're hoping that if Quebec can ever get a team, we got a place that needs a team and has a giant arena, and it's not very far. So that's kind of the dream from my perspective.
Yeah, that would make sense. I would see that happening. But they spent already a lot of money to bring the rink and everything. So odds are that maybe it's gonna happen at some point if I don't want to say his name, decides to stop not wanting to have any Canadian teams in the Canadian sport.
Oh, I got you. All right. So I got one more question then, Rich, real quick, because it seems something that struck me. I don't have any kids. My sister's got a couple of kids. My niece and nephew, they call my parents Meme and Pepe. And I never really heard that much at all when I was in Quebec. Is that something that is just not said very much anymore?
Well,
It's not Mémère and Pépère is old people. So grandparents now don't like being called. My grandparents sure didn't like that.
That's
But
funny.
I know that my parents did say that a lot. It was that. Now it's more like grands-parents or grand-maman, grand-papa. But yeah, my parents sure called their grandparents this way.
I had Pepe. My father got called Pepe by my kids.
Really?
But my mom never wanted me called
My
Meme.
mom would have. I don't know. I could see
Never.
the discussion if I would say, appelle-les pépère.
Yeah, it seems like that term has lasted. Those terms have lasted a lot longer down here even than
Yeah,
back
Maybe.
up
yeah, but
there.
because here it's seen more like you would see oh yeah, ma mère en arrière, ah. I guess it comes from folklore or something like that, but it's seen as the old senile grandparents.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
That's
So
funny.
yeah,
No, no. It's what I find interesting from time to time. I will meet people who have no idea they have any kind of French background whatsoever, and then they'll start talking about their meme, and I'd be like, "Dude, we gotta, we gotta, we gotta have a chat." But yeah. Anyway, so that was way fun. I appreciate it very very much, guys.
Now our fathers look at us and sigh with despair, to think that everything they love we simply do not share. But the spirit never dies, our culture will survive. Each of us must choose how much to keep alive. Each of us must choose how much to keep alive.
Special thanks to Josie Vachon for providing the music. You can find more about her at josievachon.com. This podcast was produced and edited by Mike Campbell. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at fclpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FCL Podcast for more information about the topics discussed. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to this episode.